Recording in progress.
Please state your. We're gonna start over. Each speaker has up to 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and address before speaking. If your comments exceed 3 minutes or the allotted time expires, please send your comments to town hall as correspondence for the board's response. Multiple citizens share the same comments. Please be brief. Unspoken comments can be submitted to town hall for inclusion as correspondence to the next regular meeting. I'm just gonna repeat the date. It's November 25th, 2024, and the time is 2:34. You do a roll call, please.
Mayor Byron,
Here.
trustee Lakai,
Here.
trustee Oglesby. Here. Trustee Podlizny.
Here.
And town clerk Blackwell.
I think, you might wanna roll call everybody and just say, it, just so that,
Mayor Tempori Kinney is absent with notice. Trustee Martinez is absent without notice. And trustee Mamonakis is absent without notice.
thank you. Next, we have vision statement. Yeah, one of us. Yeah, you read it. Why not?
Historic Crestone, Colorado exemplifies small mountain town beauty within a community committed to multi-generational well-being. The town continues to celebrate its pioneering spirit and unique diversity through contemporary self-reliance. Crestone's goals are to enhance economic viability, environmental preservation, sustainable living practices, and social responsibility.
Thank you. Next, we have approval of agenda. Any comments, concerns, changes? Is Sarah gonna be joining us? Is that?
I don't have confirmation. She asked to join this day and then didn't respond.
So we have this public hearing and it's set for 3:30, so wherever we're at on this agenda, we need to, cut it and start the public hearing.
I move we approve the agenda as presented.
I second.
More discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Let's moving on to approval of minutes from, November 12th.
I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Second? Any more discussion on it? Any changes? All in favor?
Aye.
I lost it. Next, we have citizens' comments. Would you like to come up for citizens' comments on?
I'd like to reserve
For the public hearing.
public hearing and Sarah.
Okay. Next, we have presentation of bills. Are in the red folder. Oh. How about the bill? There was one bill that I was actually unclear about, or did we get clarity on that? The big one.
Oh, you
Yeah.
I have that one over here.
Oh, you have that one separate.
It's Andrea.
What did she say about it?
She didn't respond to them.
How much was it?
$1,700 of it.
$17,000. Right?
That's very, oh,
Who's that from?
the IRS. What? I don't know what.
I didn't read the whole document, and, it all sounded Greek to me anyway, so. It's approved for discussion.
They
Okay,
didn't file something.
did it sound like it was a penalty of some kind?
I don't know.
Okay.
The federal tax deposits weren't submitted correctly. We determined that your 2025 deposit requirements for Form 941. What goes beyond my understanding,
Do you know what that is, Warren?
They're not by number. It's probably withholding.
Yeah, it's our tax recording. It wasn't done in Q3 or Q4 of last year. And
Oh,
I think there's some issue with how it was done this year, from what I understand.
okay, so it's like our reporting on income tax, payroll tax and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, this says it's supposed to be filed every 3 months.
Those are criminal, by the way.
What?
Those are trust fund monies, and not paying them is a potential criminal situation.
Hmm. Yeah,
wondering if it's something that we were supposed to pay. Now,
We're supposed to report and pay, and
is it being
didn't.
reported now though? Or will this, I mean, once we pay this, will it go with,
Current.
will be current and report properly?
No, so I think there's more to it than just like being paying at this point. We still have to do the reporting part and the payment. Kind of like with the FMA, LI, like we're just behind, and that's why I said that I reached out to Andrew because if I was coming into this as a treasurer and things were in place, it would be easy to keep them going, but they're not. So I don't know how to fix this, really. But I imagine that she does
Okay.
have some semblance of an idea of how to move forward.
yeah, it looks like they figured out what our requirement was, which is the just from looking, it looks like they figured out our requirement is $17,000, so we were probably gonna have to pay that anyway. You know, like we were gonna have to pay that. We were just supposed to do it in chunks, like in a $9,000, $7,000 chunk instead of all at once. Then it looks like our penalty is $1,400. It's like the penalty for doing it wrong. It's-
So it's actually 2 bills or 1 bill?
It looks like we have 2 bills here. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got this one, which was what our deposits were supposed to be, and then this one, which is the penalty for not submitting correctly.
So can we, we're gonna work with Andrea to try to figure this out? And then you'll try to get back on track with it and
Try to stay on track with it.
then,
Definitely.
Yeah.
I feel like it's easy enough to make a calendar where we know like when things are due, like this and FMLAI and I can't say the acronym right. The family relax and like all of the things in general.
Yeah, so this one, I guess maybe this is something Andrea will know, because here it gives us our quarterlies, it's June, March, December, September. But it says we don't owe anything for December instead, oh, that's 2023. Oh, I see. So this is. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Oh, that's pretty dire, that's right.
Yeah.
Let's see that.
And this is something,
Where did those payments come out of?
Huh,
Like what account?
she did say on November 21st, there was no 2023 941 on the shared drive. I do see W3.
If I remember right.
Okay,
That's what I shared the
okay,
forms, the only information I have saved about W3s or 941s is on our shared drive, and it's from 2021 and 2022. So we don't have the information from 2023 at all. And Kim was working on 2024, I don't know where it is, maybe in the box of files.
okay, so we don't have the employee wage information for 2023.
Well, I would imagine that it's in QuickBooks. So I
Right.
gave Andrea access to our QuickBooks desktop backup files to see if she could find that information. I don't have QuickBooks desktop. So the only information I have access to right now is what's on QuickBooks Online from August when they transitioned forward.
Okay,
So we can find the backups on,
Oh, I sent her the backups. It's on the shared drive that I
Okay.
shared with her.
I feel like we should, like there's a number of things that we've reached out to her about and maybe we should like try to get. Whether it's a finance committee meeting with her or like a full board meeting with Andrea pretty soon. Because there's like this and and then like the worksheets for the 2025 budget and. I mean, I haven't even met her yet.
yeah, so I actually,
We
And
have
actually-
issues with family too, with
Huh?
the reporting, we still have issues with family and reporting, it wasn't being taken out until August of the paychecks for employees, and it wasn't being reported until August either.
So when I'm
Actually, no,
looking,
sorry, it hasn't been reported this year at all.
so when I'm looking there, it looks like it was 1496 was paid in July. And this was paid here in September. And they're saying
this goes back to 23.
in October, we determined to yeah, that's 0. And then we have March and June. So when I'm looking at this total, I don't know where this total comes from. I mean, we're looking at these amounts here and here. So I don't know where this total comes from at all.
This looks like it could be the.
I mean, this to me looks like what would be a reasonable amount for a monthly.
These are late, they're the interest rates.
Mm-hmm. But I'm saying, what are we looking at is this?
So here's the rates more,
Mm-hmm.
those are more the rates. So we missed these two. So she had, Kim that had been paying them, I guess. This goes back to before you and Kim.
That's what I'm saying, it was never reported or paid for
So it was-
23 or
it was,
24.
What's his name,
The other one wasn't
Scott.
reported at all.
Scott?
It's just
Scott.
multi-issue.
Well, I'm wondering if it's.
That's the interest, that's the interest penalty. Your penalties.
So is this for the whole year?
No, two quarters,
Oh, this is for 2 quarters.
2 quarters missed. September through, what would it be, September,
Of last year, last quarter.
September,
So the last quarter of
last
last year,
quarter,
first quarter of this year.
August to December.
Yeah, that would have been when Scott was being the, clerk.
So I have another question. Do you guys want to separate these, REC bills into have more detail on them? Is that what we've been talking about doing?
Yeah, each one has meter and an account number, and there's no reason why it couldn't be directly associated with particular place, either well, house or public works building or here.
Is this what Elaine was suggesting at that meeting?
One of the things, yeah.
So that we can like
It's something
know
that we had-
more.
We had suggested prior to the 24 budget even being approved, is that those line items be identified.
Individually.
Yes.
So, I mean, I would direct our treasurer slash clerk to make a spreadsheet that just adds in more and more detail, because it's pretty, I mean, things are pretty, you know, you have the account number, you could have the meter number, you could have the, what it is for, and then we can get a better handle on the electric from here on out, because we have all these bills.
Yeah, and it helps in the maintenance situation where we have 3 wellheads. And if one is running more than the other, for whatever reason, I don't know, it can be identified as far as even not only the timing on the well, but water produced and the amount of electricity used.
Exactly, and then, yeah, I mean, you should separate, I mean, even, Andrew said we should have some kind
Yeah.
of clarity on that.
Do we want?
The other thing is the charging station is still on here, we're still paying for it,
What?
yeah. $105. So if it was 105, which it probably, this is from, 11/15 is when it, so probably this is from October.
And do you recall getting a, payment from the charging company back to us?
Or not anymore, right?
We
That
have-
was our problem, they went, huh?
Right,
They went
they
bankrupt.
said they're in bankruptcy, if they're in bankruptcy, depending on the kind of bankruptcy,
We're paying for
you're just another,
it. Lien,
debtor, not debtor.
lien holder,
Payee.
lien holder. If there's a, right?
Yeah, so they'll be in, thing, you'll get,
Well, we're definitely not gaining anything by keeping it running. It's just an expense.
It's an expense, I mean, the only thing is, you know, nowadays it's really good to have a charging station in town, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it's worth it if it's working.
well, I mean, people do come here, they charge, they spend money, so we are getting, you know, some probably from having that charging station here, whether it equals, you know,
Well,
$1,500 a year, I don't think I don't know if that's the case.
we don't have any more information about that company. Nothing's been turned over to anyone else that we're aware of. I'd kill it. I know it's not a lot of money.
But this is October, so I mean, it could go down in the winter and then probably picks up in the summer. But if it was 105 this month, then my guess is it's probably $1,500 a year.
Average out, we can put it together.
Wonder if we can get a grant, sales tax grant.
What's the name of the company again?
NLX, ENEL, and then the next.
What do you
word
think
is
about
X.
About what? Having a charging station that we're paying for, that we're not getting reimbursed for right now.
Oh, yeah,
Oh, wait,
why aren't
Oh,
we
yeah.
getting reimbursed for it?
because the company went bankrupt that was working it, that was,
So is the charger even being used?
Mhm.
And so who's collecting the revenue? Or
nobody,
Nobody, so people are just using it for free?
the electric company's collecting the revenue. So I'm seeing there is a charger, that's pretty cool, it is, October was a big month, so.
So what kind of amount of money have we been getting in the past? I mean, how much of a share of that
We
were
were
we
just getting
getting?
reimbursed, right?
I've never seen a check, but maybe the place to start is with, the electric company.
We could turn, I mean, we probably could turn it off, right? But then we leave people vulnerable to not having
I think
charging.
you should just call the electric company, SLV, talk to them in Loma Vista and say, hey, what's going on?
Yeah.
How do we get reimbursed? I mean, just call them and talk to their office staff and
isn't
have
that
them figure it out. I mean, and I wonder in the
What's that?
past, did we get money or was it coming in through credit on our electric bill?
I thought it was
Actually getting a
money
check.
from the county,
Was it? I thought it was
Now, I
like,
only know from sitting in the meetings, and when there was the credit card issue where nobody was being charged because the credit card machine was not hooked up, that had something to do with the county. So is the county, have we ever gotten money back?
I don't remember I don't remember anything with the charging station, how it all got set up. I mean, I remember when it got put in, but I don't remember how we set it up, get paid, I don't remember.
Well, there
Where's
must
the
be,
bill from?
REC.
Okay, so that's probably the place to start.
there must be an agreement somewhere as well.
I feel like you were getting money through Stripe, but we had issues with Stripe in general. I think it was coming through in these like tiny increments, it was like 60 cents, like $1. But eventually they stopped.
Because they went bankrupt.
Yeah, but we shouldn't, if the electric company is being, if people put in their card and they're being paid.
Are they
we shouldn't-
putting in a card or are they just charging? They're just charging, you can just charge for free, right?
They're processing it through Stripe.
So right now it's free?
I don't.
Stripe is just
I
Can
getting,
I have a copy of the
I don't,
bill specifically for that? And
this is where we're going. I mean, they combine it into. So I wanna direct Ariel for one thing real quick. I would like you to create a spreadsheet that, lays out our electric, the meter numbers, the account, like have like, so that we can add data as we start to understand them, how much things cost, by the month, you know what I mean? And then get a handle on these electric bills to begin with, because we have streetlights, we have museum, we're paying for the museum, we're paying for the downstairs store, which is a separate bill.
I do,
Apartment,
yeah, having a spreadsheet sounds like a good idea, but do we ultimately want those to become, like categories in our QuickBooks sort of system?
I was thinking
With like
more
line
like
items?
at least an amendment to it, because we need to kind of get a handle, I mean, we've talked about this before, but we need to get a handle on each one of these, individual charges.
And so if we should then I don't know if maybe she's already doing it, maybe you've talked to Andrea about it.
She said to me, she said you should, for expense purposes and figuring out where things are going, you
Yeah.
should separate stuff out. You should find out how much a well costs to run.
Right,
You should find out how much it costs on this, corner space.
so as she's going through things, she's already doing that.
No, because she didn't know, she doesn't get our bills.
Yeah.
She sees a payment to REC,
Right, and it just goes.
one lump sum,
Mhm,
and there's no separation.
mhm.
So I'm asking for some way to separate these out. That we have a better idea of what's going on,
Mhm.
and what we're paying, so. And then we can also have, are you gonna call the,
I will.
so then Dennis will call. But we have to pay the bills, so. They were approved by the finance committee at the last financial committee meeting.
So do you need a motion to pay the bills? And that's the electric bill?
Besides, what are we gonna do with the, IRS bill?
I think I should just hold off on that until Andrea can advise, or, I don't know if that's what I would do.
I think it says, can I see that? In there.
About the sanitation bill for. What was that? Oh,
Is that out of line?
No, it's good.
Fairly normal?
Mhm. It might go up a little bit more.
Okay.
So the penalty thing, are we already there? More than 10 days after we billed you, okay, yeah, we're already there.
They're
So
probably gonna keep adding on, we'll probably get another bill for more interest is my guess.
yeah. Okay.
Do you want these, do you want these labels like Russell's survey? This was for Living Wisdom and we had money in our budget to deal with Living Wisdom, but this is the bill for that.
Okay.
So I don't know how you wanna do that.
I don't know, can you just tell me the,
I'll just put it on here. Oh, one thing, Andrea highly recommended is to get a scanner that actually scans receipts. And it goes directly into QuickBooks. So when you open up a thing, you see the receipt and it's, they're not super cheap. I mean, you can get all, there's all different ones, but the one I saw was about $400 and what it does is it takes little receipts in the front and big receipts in the back. And then it goes directly onto QuickBooks.
I think that would be a nice tool to have in the office. The only thing is making sure that staff gets those receipts.
We have to have a system.
Yeah,
Because every receipt.
otherwise it just won't work. You gotta beat it into their head. Sure, I said that.
No, that's true. I mean, if you're actually inserting them into QuickBooks, then there has to be some sort of method for, some kind of, if they buy something, how do you compare it to the purchase order and then compare it to, the transaction that's on the QuickBooks?
Did she think that that was better than just, cause QuickBooks also has a function where you can take a picture of the receipt and store it in there. Just by taking a picture of it. So maybe like for security reasons, the scanner is better or something?
I don't know
I
why.
don't know.
She just recommended it. I don't know if she recommended getting an expensive one, but.
I don't know if our QuickBooks program will do that, maybe it will.
And my QuickBooks desktop. You can set it up to where you can take photos.
So there's one for.
So moving forward, what do we need to do here?
So we need to pay the bills, number one. Number two, we need to decide if we want to, get a tool for her to be able to scan and receive.
What's the
So I
price,
would-
maybe if our program will scan it, do you know if it will or not?
I'm not sure. I feel like YouTube QuickBooks Online.
So I would make a motion that we pay the bills.
Is there a second?
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And before we would order a printer like that, should we see if that's something we really wanna have? Would it really be used? I mean, you're using QuickBooks Online, would this be a tool that would make your life easier or no?
I'm not sure, cause I'm still trying to learn how to use QuickBooks.
So one thing
We're doing payroll.
is we have to be ready for 2025 is what I'm gonna start, like. We have a very nice, Andrea even said, like, this is great, you guys are you're all screwed up for 23, you're pretty screwed up for 24. You have a chance now to not be screwed up for 25.
Right.
So
is this
any
something
tools
Andrea
that,
wants to see us have?
she said it makes it a lot easier later because you can click on anything and see the receipt, you can
Okay.
see what it's for. The question is whether it would be used for every receipt, every transaction.
How much are we talking about?
So there's all different prices, I mean,
I know that like
$2.29.
when I set up QuickBooks, for my business. They asked me when I was setting it up, like, in what way do I want to be able to put receipts into QuickBooks? And it was like, you had a scan option, you had an email option, and you had a photo option, and so like.
So what I think might be a good thing to
Which
do is for like Benjamin to sit down with Andrea and look at these ones and say, what's
yeah.
the cheapest one that will work for you? You know, cause I
Right.
see we're looking at $100, $350, $200.
Mhm.
And so if she says, oh, that's one I really like, I've used that one a lot.
Mhm.
So we
The
can.
one I was looking at was this one because it says, it's for Mac and PC, works with QuickBooks Online,
Mhm.
but it's $419, so that was kind of expensive, and then maybe $239 here, actually, there's one Canon.
$149.
So rather than spend a lot of time on this right now.
Okay.
Why don't you get with Andrea, see which one might.
Well, Andrea just said, she said it would be recommended to have some kind of scanner that
So do we wanna make a motion to expend up to a certain amount of money for purchasing one of these?
Yeah. That would be fine with me, to double down on it, we were asked to look over a year of numbers for the charge card use, and no one could identify where any of it came from. Couldn't tell if it was a hardware store or
Because receipts weren't being
no
inserted.
receipts, yeah, nothing was accounted for. And it was charges from just a few dollars to some of them several hundred.
Yeah,
Andrew's totally willing to help, you know, get us organized.
Good.
Um,
Well, if this tool would help, another Amber alert here, and we wanna make a motion to expend up to how much money?
so this one's $239, it's listed at $399, they're having like a Black Friday deal, and it has 4.5 stars, $239.
So
So
if
we
we,
could say to expend up to $350. Does that work for you?
$300, I think, if we got.
Well, you got taxes and
Yeah.
whatever.
if there's a motion, I'll second
Any more discussion?
it.
Up to 300.
Oh, look, this one. If you find one,
Or for anything that helps expedite this stuff and makes it,
this one.
and make human error. Yeah, like I said, unless they put in the receipts,
it doesn't look.
it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They gotta turn in the receipt.
I mean, that's also, you know, I know for myself, like, I have to like go into my QuickBooks, you know, like once a week. Because I'm also terrible at keeping receipts, and so I need to remember, like, you know, where did that check go to that check, you know what I mean? So.
So,
I just think we,
Repeat the motion on the table.
so if you feel like we really need to have this to make things work more efficiently, then I would make a motion that we approve the purchase of a scanner that would communicate with QuickBooks. And QuickBooks Online not to exceed $350. Would that work?
Okay,
Okay.
second that.
any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The idea, I think, is to get it now so that we are ready for 25, like on day one, we are ready. And I do not wanna have this mess again.
Yeah.
Next, we are going to move on to pay the bills, treasurer's report. Is there any reporting besides we have?
No, I pretty much just said it, the treasure files are a mess. Physically and digitally.
Spiritually too.
Spiritually, and working to fix them and get them in order. And just trying to figure out where we're missing reports. Things and try to get everything back on track. And I'm still working on the appeal for unemployment too, to counter the claims from our previous employees.
Can we, like, as you guys are figuring that stuff out, can we generate a list of, you know, it's like, of all the things that we're supposed to be filing for every year? And so like, we can all kind of keep an eye on it, because like, I don't, you know, like, all these things I don't know about, I'm just learning about 941 filings and family filings and that kind of stuff, so like, I just, as we're figuring it out, maybe having that list so that we can all just sort of be like, thinking about it and,
Ola has, you know, one for us that's very important.
yeah,
But that doesn't include this stuff, I think, as far as payroll and all that. I think it's something that needs to be charted or, again, maybe another spreadsheet of some sort.
yeah, just as we're garnering the information so that we can keep track of it, so that, yeah, as we go into 2025, we're like, okay, maybe we might not know everything, but like, we know we need to be doing these things.
Right.
We wanna do that. We'd be happy to do that.
The other thing is, you know, on 2025, on day one, that's when the new, obviously the new, financial year starts. So even if we're not, I mean, we wanna stay caught up and build up some financial systems for the rest of 24, but really 25, from day one, we have to be ready, so. Whatever that takes to talk to Andrea and, get that dialed. Really important that we can have a really good financial system that, is foolproof and, yeah.
Functional, and can be passed on to others that come after us.
So then we have a finance committee report. The only thing I had to report was that I passed, Elaine decided to come back and because she felt like she could really help again. And so she came back and I connected Andrea and her to catch up on 23 so we can get it to the auditor. Now we are going to be late on our audit. And we're already late on our audit and we couldn't get an extension, so we have property taxes that are gonna be withheld. But then once we get it in, we have to make sure that we get caught up with the county and that they release those property tax that they will owe us. We also have a mill levy that has to be certified really soon. Did you go through that, find out anything on that? Yeah.
I asked for the amended certification evaluation by the county assessor. They said that won't come out until,
It'll be out by December 10th, but it's not been sent yet. And then.
That's good.
Mill levy, I'm not really sure.
Well, I think you need the evaluation in order to create the mill levy, and we would just, right?
So we've been running basically, I believe, the same mill levy for years and years and years. We have not adjusted the mill levy.
Right.
So really, all we would need would be a motion to pass setting the mill levy for what it has been.
I think you need a resolution,
We do need a resolution.
but that's fine, we can have a
I
resolution.
can have one for the next meeting.
You need one,
We need a resolution.
For
a resolution. So our attorney can prepare a resolution to set the mill levy, and we've just been running it at the same mill levy. We haven't changed it at all.
Okay.
And that's just a real simple, straightforward vote to set the mill levy.
What else was that the finance committee did? Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think it was much more than that.
I mean, what we're finding out is that, because Andrea is not part of the town, she hasn't been part of the town, she's just getting basically past information that is fairly, it's all of our past spending basically, and
So do we need to make a motion to direct our attorney to create a resolution to set the mill levy as what it was last year?
I don't think so. I think we just direct her,
Okay,
Ariel to talk to him about that. That's important. But, I'm hoping that when Andrea and Elaine come together, they'll get our profit and loss and a lot of the stuff back into order, for 23. We're still working on 23. Then she's gonna start working on 24. And, or she has been working on 24 as well, but that's a big thing too. So we still have a lot to go, to say the least. Yes,
You've got to cancel your public hearings.
for the budget.
Budget.
The December ones? Cause we won't be ready?
I don't know, but it doesn't look like it is.
No. No, but we have to have I think we were talking about this at the finance meeting, maybe the last one, what happens when we're late on our budget to the state?
so are we gonna,
If I can be so rude, the state doesn't care that you turn in garbage numbers to them.
True.
And maybe there's some ramification, but
So you're saying we could make a budget and then make a supplemental budget?
no.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that the numbers that have been turned in the past budgets have been garbage.
Yeah.
And the state hasn't cared. the fact that you're not gonna meet the deadline of December 31st, which is required to have the budget in, seems to me that the state doesn't care about anything.
Okay,
But that may not be the case. There may be some issues.
So one of the things that we've been told is that our budget is our plan, you know, for the next year.
yeah,
And right now, we're not ready for it, but we're gonna be going into next year without a plan, without a budget.
yeah.
So
here's
it's gonna hurt
come
us
in.
probably more than anybody.
Yeah.
So we have to really, you know,
So I think we need to meet these deadlines. We need to meet the deadlines and not try to postpone whatever. We've got a deadline to be able to have the hearing done and have a budget done. What's the problem? We can't just do things on.
when you do a budget, you need 22, 23, and 24. We don't have any of those numbers set, on actuals of what we spent versus our budget. I mean, everything is in a chaotic mess right now. It's like we're going through a cocoon or something, and we're gonna be emerging as
Is
a.
it due
You
January?
just found out the $17,000 that you didn't pay. Yeah, so that would not be, have shown up in the numbers that you're for 23. So you don't have an audit, your audit's late, and none of the numbers that are being presented are accurate.
They just
And it's been that way.
passed off to 24 and that mistake would pass off to 25.
Well, we've been working on this like nonstop for 2 years, like, so why don't we have this information? Why aren't they accurate? I mean, I tell you, I'm really getting frustrated with every meeting saying we don't have an accurate budget. I mean, this has been like a year.
It's been longer than that. And if it's frustration for you, you ought to see the frustration on our side of it.
Well, I know you're the finance committee, I'm just like, what are you guys doing? No.
Well, every time we turn a corner, something else comes up. And Hugh knows this late in the game, we get a notification from the IRS saying we owe almost $20,000. Because it's not something that happened recently, something that happened in 23.
I understand that. I understand your frustration, I guess there's just a lot more going on to try and solve this problem. But boy,
Yeah,
what can we do to make sure that this happens?
I would, if you ask my advice, I would say, when we're through with this, and we will get through with it, is the board has got to stay involved.
It's got to do what?
Stay involved. You gotta ask questions, gotta continue on with the bill approval, gotta put together what we were talking about as far as what Dana was talking about, a schedule through the year as to what happens. Something's gotta pop up on a screen somewhere and say, you got 60 days to do this or that or whatever. And, I think that would be a good start right there, is just staying involved.
So what would it take for us to have our budget on schedule for a public hearing? I mean, you're saying we still have to deal with 2023. I mean, we went ahead and amended the budget. We did all kinds of stuff with that.
So
What do we need to do?
So one thing that's happening is that when Andrea is done with 23 and we get it, and she said we'll probably get it to 75% is what she told me.
Okay,
She's hoping that 24 would be like 90% is what she
Okay.
said. But we still have time. She just, you know, she's working really hard, I think, to try to get us caught up, but she doesn't have all the information that she needs. And we're like, for instance, she sent me a whole list of stuff. And I just went online and started looking, I think this is for this, but then when I went into the public or finance committee meeting, they were like, well, this is probably for a grant that we got. And then how do we take that line item that was like, for a specific piece of equipment and relate that, you know, and get reimbursed, because we probably need to be reimbursed. You know, there's just like so many little parts for each item on the 23.
well, it
Let
doesn't
alone
help that we
24.
lost one treasurer last fall and then we lost another treasurer this year.
Not soon enough. She got rid of it 9 months ago. But
Yeah,
anyway, the other part is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the time frame we have to allow to be able to notify the public and have the hearing also is going to take us some overtime.
Okay.
I think it's like definitely a situation where either we choose to present a budget that we know is not gonna be correct, or we choose to just, eat our lunch and be patient with this process that we're unfortunately in too late in the year. Like, and we were trying and wished that we were gonna be in a different place, and then
It's a little
that
bit
didn't
of
work.
what you would call government shutdown, unfortunately.
Well, I just know
Yeah,
there's
we don't have a budget.
heavy consequences if we don't have a budget by the deadline.
No,
So-
he was saying there's not really consequences, it's our own consequences with our citizenry, with.
I'm not
So, do we
saying,
have-
Warren doesn't know what he said.
No, we
I'm not saying there are no consequences. I'm just saying if you're talking to 7 different state agencies and none of them,
Gives a shit.
okay,
But we can't spend money without a budget, isn't that true? Like, our budget, like, we can only spend money out of certain line items for specific things, so without it, we can't.
So I'm assuming from what you said that we are on
Mhm.
track with Andrea and the finance committee to begin now that Elaine's involved again, that we might be able to actually pull this off. So, I mean, I would say let's not cancel any hearings unless we're right at the point where we know we have to cancel one. Let's just
Wait
keep
till the
putting
last
that
minute.
out there,
That's sensible, I think.
let's try to aim for that goal and.
we
Yeah,
don't have to do that right now.
You can at least cancel like a day before, or just to notify the public, cause there was heat last time, you canceled like day of and didn't notify. Well, like just ask them for like 24 hours.
I think we'll know a week before if we got it or not.
you cannot do it. Okay, it's not a matter of, oh, we're gonna get it done. You cannot get this done in time. We don't have an audit for 23, which is part of the numbers. You don't have anything for 24. And you need 10 days before the public meeting, before the public hearing to give it notice.
but is this correct that like if we go into 25 without a budget, like we can't pay people? Because we won't, is that
I
true?
have no idea.
I mean, I don't know,
I don't know either.
No,
But
I mean, I would
anyways-
say that we're going to, like, we're gonna have to kind of keep the spending, it's gonna be like bare bones spending.
essential.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
So it sounds like everybody's working on this as fast
Oh, it's
as
not.
they can.
It's not like no one's touching it, it's
Okay.
moving forward as fast as it can.
Okay.
I don't
So
know
do
if the
we
word
need to
fast-
make a decision about meetings at this meeting?
Yes, I would say. By the time, when is the public hearings for
It's for December
16th.
16th.
16th? I mean, is that the first meeting? No,
That's the special meeting,
Special
it was
meeting.
moved up a week.
Mary, you know when, Andrea and Elaine will be getting together, or?
the 9th.
The 9th? The 9th of December.
If you were dealing with Superman, you could maybe get it done. You're not gonna get it done.
He's right.
So I have on my calendar, December 16th, is that what? And that's the one you're saying that we're looking at having to postpone?
Yeah, but if you had a 6th, then we would have to get the budget to the citizens.
Or is, yes, 10 days
Six.
before.
Okay, well,
So yeah, make a motion, somebody,
I'll make a motion that we cancel the budget hearings for December.
I'll second it.
more discussion.
that doesn't mean that we can't reschedule a meeting if we feel like we're ready. So
They'll
you're
just be
discussing
different
the-
dates.
You're
Yes,
canceling the ones that we have scheduled.
it'll just be different
Okay.
dates.
All in favor?
Aye.
Well, are you keeping up pretty heavily with Andrew? I mean, she's up to date pretty much on everything she needs.
I've given her everything I can possibly give her as soon as she asks for it. And I've told her then I can't provide the things that she's asking for.
But is there, what did she say about that when you say that you can't give her something?
She's not that responsive
No,
back, you know, she asks for things, I give her things, I don't necessarily get like a response back. Which is okay, I know she got it.
So are we ready for the public hearing on,
5 minutes. Yeah, I just wanna finish
is Seth joining us? Okay.
just so you know, the audit, I don't know if Seth is joining us. The audit, she said, I spoke with Ronnie, who's our auditor. My best understanding is that he said you will not have time to start your audit till the middle of December. And he won't be finished by the end of 2023. Oh, and he won't be finished by the end of 2020, I guess she meant 2024. He plans to finish it early in the year 2024. Like that.
Or 25.
So 2020, no, we'll have it early 2024, 25, all right, whatever. Yeah, she had her years wrong. We did do the CDs are now up to date. We have a 6-1 CD at 4.5%. 3 of them, and they're all combined. There's 7 of them. We took them and we combined them into 3: sewer, water, general. And next 6 months, we'll have to figure out what we want to do, but maybe the interest rates will change. They couldn't give us 5% because we're a municipality and yeah, it was a separate deal for personal CDs. What else? Kizan wanted us to possibly look at this Colorado Trust. I don't know if anybody's seen it yet.
I did.
What do you think of it?
I don't know. It sounded like a good deal.
So
Did you see it?
I'm on the,
I'll pass them.
Northern Suwannee County Library District. And last year, this winter, Brett Parsons that came and presented to the library board. And, you know, first he had sent us a bunch of materials that he came and presented with us. And, there was a lot of benefits. We're still keeping like our account there with, SLB Federal, and also keeping an event account. But with the Colorado Trust here, there was some real benefits, and especially things like CDs that you could, you know, withdraw without penalty. And it's kind of like a credit union for municipalities and special district governmental agencies. So it looked really good and we went with them. And so when we were having this discussion, I thought, well, let me get that information and send it to you guys and see what you think about it. And I know Brett would be willing to come and present to the town and get your questions answered and everything.
I would like to wait till we get past this budget process. And then when things calm down in that respect, come at this with a better, more clear mind.
Well, it would be good just to, you know, contact him and say, you know, we're kind of interested in this right now, we're in crazy budget season. Maybe after the beginning of the year, you could come and talk to us or something, but to just get in touch with them so we know what we're doing.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I'm not 100%, but I was looking at it and it said if you invested $1 million, you get $4,000 in a year, which is 0.4%, not 4%. But then down here it says 4.72%. Up to 5.
So that's something you could always call them too and talk to them about. Yeah, we'll find out, get more information about it.
Oh, wait, I'm seeing it differently. I'm sorry. This is monthly. $1 million monthly. You make.
But even if we're too busy right now, I think it's something worth looking into.
So it's like more like 4.7 or something. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
But still, I mean, it's about the same as our bank, but, it would be nice to spread it out maybe into another.
Well, and like I said, if you wanted to write back to them and thank you for the information, we're gonna be reviewing it. Right now, we're crazy budget, and if we can talk with you the first of the year, it's one thing, and.
Yeah. I like that.
And then the board could decide whether or not they wanna go with them or
Next, now we can start our public hearing.
Is there?
There's a second sheet to that, I think.
It's just bathroom.
Maybe that was the problem. I have to, there it is. So, all right, so I guess, do I hit the thing, I'm gonna declare this as a public hearing. The time is, 3:30. It's November 25th, 2024. We're gonna have this public hearing, the procedures are gonna be, we are going to open it up for, for witnesses on both sides to speak, for or against. We are going to, establish a time limit for the speakers, which is gonna be, 20 minutes on each side, for or against. We're gonna swear in witnesses to testify at this hearing. And we're going to discuss, we're gonna introduce what the following exhibits are, for this hearing. So if, Ariel, if you could introduce what the, this is a public hearing about.
This is a public hearing to review the agreement between the town of, or the proposed agreement between the town of Crestone and the Baca Grande Water and Sanitation District, as created by our town attorney and the attorney for the Baca Grande.
And, it was posted for how many days prior? And it was the group, there was, an opportunity for the public to see this particular document.
Yes. It was, available in the office and it was also posted on the website.
Since this document is, multiple pages, we're going to, and we've all looked at it, and we've all reviewed it, we're going to open up the public hearing to our citizenry to, be for or against, this particular, document. Does everybody have the document before them?
If not, in the binder, isn't it, Ariel?
Yes.
Ariel.
I can also make,
What's
physical
in
copies
the
if you want.
No, really,
No,
unless anyone else.
Does anyone want a physical
would
copy?
you like a physical copy, or are you happy with?
I'm happy with
I've got
it.
it online here.
Warren, are you open?
We have, thank you.
So, having, that everybody has this before them, let's, have, a swearing in process for anybody who wants um, comment on it, for or against. So
Do you want me to swear him?
yeah, I think you swear him in as that he's telling the truth, or, right, is that, I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure this is big.
for sure. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God.
thank you, and just announce your name, I know you don't announce your address, but your name's fine.
Stephen, 271 West Carbonate, Crestone. My concerns are more questions at this point. As regards the, contract between the town and the Baca. I find that the numbers being used as percentages, even though they're samples, as being used as an example, like on page 3, section 4, and the lower half.
On page 3, you said?
Page 3, section 4. Due to the fact that, people anchor on numbers, I find that the numbers being used in this example are grossly too high in relationship to what, the town's proportion might be. We've heard lots of argument by, mostly Dan Gray, that the town uses 30% of the sewer, capacity, the sewer treatment capacity, and it just doesn't make mathematical sense. We've got 81 people on our sewer, and they've got 750 with, some very large institutions that in 1 week had 400 people, here. So I find that using these high numbers sort of suggests that we are using that kind of amount. I don't know that anyone has ever bothered to check the total gallonage that the Baca treats and how that relates to both the measuring that's being done at the kiosk and our new meter, if that's working yet. And have those things been compared. So before signing it, I would ask that somebody do at least some simple math to see what's going on there. And then on page 4, number 7, where we're paying 50% of the district sewer tap fee for any new people, what they call it here, a district wastewater collection system impact fee. Well, that's a new fee that appears that we're gonna be charging under our fee schedule. And I've heard no discussion of how that is going to be, implemented, or how the board plans to, figure out how much that is and how it gets dealt with. Those are my main concerns with it. And I know it's been a long time in the process, but I think they need to be addressed. Thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
So, I think we can reply even, as says applicant may reply to staff and public question, I think, are we the applicant? for the applicant. On this sheet, I think that, any more comments? Brent, I see that you're on there. Do you have anything to say?
No, I'm just listening for now. I appreciate it.
Does the board want to reply to,
Oh, I just wanted to say I'm listening. I'm sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm just going to continue to listen. Thank you.
that's fine. Does the board want to make any comments about this, this agreement and, or do you think? Yes,
In addition to, what was brought forward by Warren, I'd like to add that the board needs to look at the reduction of the 60,000 gallon day to, I believe it's 30,000 gallon day, which will restrict our growth in the future. So you need to look at that more clearly.
and that's on which,
I'd like to hear, I don't recall what paragraph it was, but I'd like to hear what other members of the board might have to say about that.
So do we close the public hearing before the board has its own discussion? Finish taking testimony.
I think we can reply to, our testimonies. We can actually, ask if there's any comments or rebuttals on, Warren's statements. I would like to say that we have discussed the, impact fee. That we're gonna go off of their, so what happened was when they said that we were gonna have to give half of our tap fee, but that we would have to raise our tap fee to their tap fee level, we decided that that wasn't gonna happen. So instead of, you know, raising our tap fees and then splitting that in half and then giving them half, we decided we were gonna keep our tap fees the same for the moment and then take their tap fees, split that in half, and that would be the impact fee. And then we would give that to them for every tap that is applied for in the town. So, but, you know, our tap fees are fairly low in comparison to other towns around the state, maybe even all of the states. I mean, we could look, but, I mean, I do think that, you know, if people wanna build, that there should be, you know, some expenses that have to be paid, whether it be permit fees, whether it be tap fees, whether it be this impact fee. I mean, it's just kind of the cost of building is not gonna be always as cheap as people would like. And I know that you know, you would like to save people money if you can. Obviously, it would be, you know, it's a, you know, you're kind of the advocate for that, which I think is noble and good. It's just, there are gonna be expenses that we have to pay, and we are using their system to treat our water, or our sewage, so, in order for that to happen, we do have to have this document, you know, somehow figured out and, signed eventually, so that we don't lose the opportunity. I don't know what would happen if we go past the year and they're, you know, maybe they file a complaint against us or something if we don't have this document in order. I don't know exactly what the consequences are, for not having it, except that we might have to rewrite it again, which would be a huge deal on us. So I think what we should, you know, all take into consideration is that this stuff is binding, but it also, you know, is kind of something that is somewhat necessary. It's unfortunate that it's necessary, but it is necessary. It's kind of like a necessary evil that we just, you know, put ourselves into because we have a sewer system. I know there's some details that we could work out. I also would like to say that our attorney who, you know, has been working on this for several months, if not years, thinks that the town is not putting itself into anything that's, you know, extremely harmful, that it will get worked out in the future, that we, you know, we will have an independent analysis before anything, we have to pay any extra money towards their system. We will have to obviously maintain our meter, and the meter's gonna be, we have to decide on how we're gonna deal with the meter and whether that's gonna be the main meter that we use, but I think that's something that will be figured out in the future.
So, so I don't need to rebut anybody's opinion. So I'm wondering, before the board discuss, do we close the public hearing and then we talk amongst, we bring up our own points? Or is this part of the public hearing where the board speaks?
It says, following questions from the board, the hearing officer will declare the public hearing closed and the matter will be remained to the board for consideration. So
the public has made its statements and then we close the public hearing and then it goes to the board for consideration.
If there's a rebuttal or any more comments regarding it, otherwise we can close the public hearing.
Okay, so, because I have a comment I want to make, but I don't know, that should be in the board discussion or part of the public hearing.
It says any person speaking or presenting any information at the hearing may be questioned by the Board of Trustees or the town administration. I actually think it's more for the public to speak their case and not necessarily for the board. We just have the opportunity to discuss.
So I think that's true.
Yes,
I have a question now that Dennis has raised. I don't see that there's any reference in here to the gallonage, although I know I heard it
I can't find it either.
at a previous meeting.
was that in the second part of this that goes with it that we have?
It doesn't appear to be in that either.
I know I read it somewhere.
In the permit. The treatment services. No, I'm looking at the wrong. That was supposed to accompany this?
I think that's the way it was.
There is it's a permit, right? Is that what it's called?
Well, no, we had,
Discharge permit.
discharge permit, that's what it was.
We should have that in our, is there a way you can email it to us? Do you have that? You sent it?
I can send
Oh,
it. Do you want me to print a copy?
Yeah, please, thank you.
So I think, this is something that we want to look at real quick, because I think it should be presented into the, exhibits of our public hearing.
So are you gonna close the public hearing?
No, I think that we should present the discharge permit into our, as an exhibit for
As
the public
evidence of
hearing.
the public hearing?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Listed as exhibit A.
Thing that the attorney had put in.
So, are we ready to close the public hearing or?
No,
So I think Ariel is gonna send us.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so I'd like to, now that we've received it, I would like to enter this in as an exhibit to the public hearing. Again, I'm hoping, was this available to the public or not?
It wasn't on the website.
Was not. This is exhibit A that goes with our,
It is in there, the 30,000, I'm sorry.
I don't know dates.
You mean the document?
I see that they're highlighted as though they're gonna be filled in.
Yeah,
It must happen as soon as we decide.
but it does down in the, let's see, where is it? On page 6. And the following effluent limitations are set at the town outfall metering location. I'm not sure this 30-day average of 30,000 gallons. Are you seeing that? Yeah.
Where were we originally? We've been at like 15 or 16 or something like that,
Monthly,
monthly.
we're averaging, I'll give you a high number and say it's about 14,000 gallon day.
On a high day,
Yeah,
and then low day.
12.
So 30 gives
Now, that
us,
was prior to the Living Wisdom.
Right, exactly. So I'm thinking with that kind of growth, I don't think we're gonna,
I still don't think we more than double our discharge.
We could, sure.
that,
The thing, I don't know if we're ready to go into discussion on this,
mhm.
or that should be after the meeting's over.
Is it something that you wanna, bring?
I have no objection if you want to close the meeting.
So, since we've, we've had the opportunity for the public to speak and we are, we've had, comments regarding this, contract as well as the exhibit A. I'm gonna ask that we close this public hearing at, 3:51. I guess, the date, was I supposed to say everybody that was here at the public hearing or? Okay. So I guess the public hearing is now closed and we can, move on to, actions or discussion, by the board.
Are we set at 60,000 gallons right now?
So one of the points I would like to make, and, I still, as Woman said, I'm a bit boggled, continuing where we have 81 taps. Yet we're 28% of the flow, and versus 750 users in the Baca. To me, that math has never really matched up. We did the INI to really see if we were leaking water anywhere. We've worked on doing the meters to where we would have a really good meters, and I think that's the key thing, is that with a good meter, that we're looking at having accurate flows with having 2 meters like we're looking at now. And being able to see what if there's a big difference between the 2 meters. So I think that's a really good plan to do that.
But I don't think that's what's happening now. I think
Right.
it's all getting shifted.
Right, and so that I think is actually essential, because there's been a lot of things brought up about maybe there's backflow from the Baca that's causing the meters to do this or that. So having the 2 meters, I think, is gonna ensure that there's a more accurate flow. One of the concerns that I have, and I think I brought it up once before, and it's not actually addressed in this, is if a new building treatment plant's gonna be built, I would imagine you've got what, a 30-year lifespan at least on something like this? What do you think, Dennis?
All depends on growth.
Right, so, you know, the expansion that was done on the treatment plant was like now about 22 years ago and they did the expansion in order to be able to accommodate the town sewage, so they did that expansion. But what's not mentioned in here is that, plotting for future growth. And so right now, if we have a flow going and we don't have a problem with the meters, we think everything's exact, they're gonna be using the metering for 1 year before they determine what a percentage of our usage is. But I look for, if we're looking at 20, 30 years of use or building a building that you would think is going to be good for 30 years, what is the potential for growth within the town? And what is the potential for growth that's in the Baca? And I think that's really crucial, because while the town is growing, the Baca is really growing. And where if we were to have 10 new houses come in, does that equate to 50 more new houses in the Baca? There's assuming this agreement is almost like we're gonna grow at the same rates, that if we're here at 27% of the usage, or let's say if they figure it out with their math or whatever, we would pay for 30% of the building, because we're using 30%. If that was just a number that was gonna stay like that, to me, it would make sense. Okay, we're using 30% of it, we're gonna pay for 30% of it, okay. But 10 years down the road, are we still at 30% or are we at 20%? Because of growth that's in the Baca. And I kind of feel like there should be something in here to recognize that we might have lots to bring in 25 new houses in town. If we do a full build out or whatever, they might have the ability to bring in 300 new houses. So it seems to me there should be some sort of a recognition that it's not just a stagnant one figure in time, 12 months before the building is built, and actually takes into account what's gonna be happening with growth for the next 15, 20 years.
And just to clarify, Kizin, what you're talking about is specifically about the wastewater plant upgrades
Yeah,
and not just the increases in cost of service?
no, I'm talking about if they're gonna build a new building that's gonna cost $30 million.
Right,
And our share of it is a third.
right.
Will our share be a third in 15 years? So it just seems like they have a potential for much larger growth than we do. And so this is just something I wonder about. Now, we're looking too at hopefully having grants that will come in and pay our share of this. This is what we're looking for, like Colorado Department of Local Affairs or Public Health will be able to handle our share of that new expanded treatment plant. They did last time, they mandated to the town of Crestone that we had to have sewage in the town. They mandated or they must shut the town down. So because they mandated that we had to do this, they were very good about putting up the money to expand the facility in order to handle our sewage, and they paid for the system in town. And I would assume, hopefully, that they would be very good about saying, okay, you guys gotta pay 1/3 of the treatment facility, they're gonna build it and expand it, build a new thing. And your VAC is saying that it's 1/3, we'll help come up with the money to make that be 1/3. But it's not
So,
mentioned in here the long road road.
It's not so much, but there is a mention of, the town, we will have, let's see, it says,
Says they would measure for 12 months preceding.
yeah, but we will, I think we're gonna have a way of basically, it's not gonna just say that we owe that, there's gonna be some dialogue that we can, bring this stuff up later. It says here that, we will have a third party,
Right,
the town, let's see, let's read this one. The district is in the process of upgrading its existing wastewater treatment facility and may ultimately be required to expand or replace its current faculty. The amount the town pays for wastewater treatment services under this agreement shall increase so that the town is paying its proportionate share of the cost of any upgrades to the existing wastewater treatment facility.
and so that line where you said the proportionate share,
Right,
what the consultant
cost-
would consider.
right, the cost of any expansion of the existing wastewater treatment and the cost of a new wastewater treatment. This amount of this increase shall be determined by a qualified third-party consultant retained by the district, which consultant shall base such amount on the percentage of the town's treatment. I do feel like, it is a little bit maybe too broad as far as what they're saying in here, that it's kind of determined by this particular person and that we're kind of at the mercy of this,
Right.
at the mercy of this,
So something I
I
would
mean,
like.
they can't just send us a bill and say you're gonna be paying this.
Right, so I guess the assurance that I would wanna see is that when it says that the consultant, when it says that will, base the amount of the increase necessary to pound its proportionate share of the cost. And I would like to say that the consultant would consider growth aspects, long-term growth aspects of both the town and the back. I mean, that's would be the only thing, is that the consultant will consider long-term growth aspects of both Crestone and the back. And that would be the only thing, just to say, it's not just about the flow. We want the consultant to take a look at growth. And that would be the one thing I'd wanna say, that the consultant shall evaluate and consider
Yeah,
long-term growth options between both the town of Crestone and the back of water. And I just feel like that also directs the consultant. It's in the agreement that says you need to pay attention to this as well.
Yeah.
And that would be really, other than that, I think this agreement, we've been hammering this thing out for like 3 years now. I mean, oh my God, Benjamin, But and I think it's actually a very, very good agreement, considering where we were 2 years ago. I'm really impressed where we are. And that would be the only thing that I would like to see added. And is that we look at long-term growth.
can you pass that on to Seth, that that's the one,
There's more than one.
well, there's more than one, but if we're gonna do this right, I mean, there was a time period when we were, we asked Kizan to send her comments in. We asked, I know this is, after our public hearing, and but if there's things that we need to have changed, this is the 12th hour. We hit the 12th hour, and now we're at the point where it's like, either we change it, and they're probably gonna have to send it back to the other lawyer. I mean, it starts to get really complex
Yeah.
as far as,
Seth has definitely mentioned several times that like they want this to be over.
Yeah. I
So-
do too, but when I look at the fines assessed, and compare it to the, the amount of VODs are saying that of 450, you'll be at your discharge monitoring requirements will be over our requirements. According, if I understand it correctly, then they can actually kick in a $5,000 fine for each day
Yeah.
that overage occurs. And,
That's in,
I think that's pretty severe.
Yeah, for sure.
And the issue of the amount of gallons, we're limited to some people that might be fine and looks at the town and says, well, that's limiting our growth, which is okay. You know, we've only got so much land and so much water and that's okay. But there, realistically, you can, after Living Wisdom comes on, you can maybe get one or two light manufacturing types of businesses in here that could use up that additional 15,000 gallons in a blink of an eye. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's going to happen. We don't know. We don't really know what the future is. But limiting us to the 30,000 gallon day, I think is cutting it in half.
What if we say something in there that says at the time of expansion that this will shift to a different, amount? So for instance, if we're putting in for expansion, then we have, the limit expands to.
So with the new facility, the
Right.
volume that the town sends could be expanded.
Right, so on this facility, we can understand, okay, we have a 30,000 gallon a day limit, but on. If you're gonna expand and we're gonna chip in on that expansion or try to get a grant or whatever we're gonna do, that we should have more room in there to.
Well, but correct me if I'm wrong, any request to change something triggers a whole new agreement,
There's a permit,
is what I got out of this as well.
that's what you get out of the permit modification process. Because I read that if we want to modify the permit, then we go through a 14-day review. There is a 90-day total. And in that 90 days, the permit modification gets rejected or approved. And that's between both parties to discuss.
And also change to anything else that they might want to include.
Mhm.
Like raising the
Right.
rates or that sort of.
So
Yeah.
the town contributed to build the expansion 20 years ago, and we had 60,000 gallons then. So basically saying the money you spent then doesn't count today, when it's the same facility. So you had 60,000 gallons,
And they're not.
when you spent whatever millions it was back then.
So when the town hooked up, the town didn't have a water system. It was only people's wells. And it was a much smaller territory. And so from whence we picked up, there has been added a lot more houses than what originally was. And everybody had been on their own well. So it was not the volume that we have now.
But he's saying that they cut down from that when we originally agreed, we actually had 60,000 gallons a day that we were allowed to use, and now they're saying we only have 30,000
Okay, well,
gallons,
we
and we
need
put
to-
in the same amount of money.
Yeah, we need to change that.
Yeah.
That needs to be in there, because like we've got property here that's owned multifamily housing. And, the Saguache County Housing Board was looking to bring in housing maybe here. That's something that could happen in the next number of years, would be affordable housing coming in. That could bring in another bunch of units, and so.
They tried to bring it in.
And if we're looking at expanding our water system, we should be able to do that without triggering a new agreement. I agree. So that would be a point I think needs to be brought in.
So we could say that the original agreement was 60,000 gallons, and we had contributed to the original agreement with that understanding, and for them to knock it down by half to 30,000 doesn't feel fair to us. It limits, and that we, would expect that if we were to contribute to a new facility, that would even be higher than 60,000.
I don't see how the permit modification triggers a whole new agreement. It allows one of us to propose a modification, which then gets sent to the other party, and then they have 14 days to review and change the request that was made, but not the whole agreement.
Okay, that's good. But I think from right now, the point of increasing the amount, it makes sense. It's been 20-some years. It makes sense to have that number, especially if we're already looking ahead on it, them expanding the treatment in order to handle our sewage and their sewage, that we have the higher number. You're saying it was 60 and now it's dropped? Benjamin, you're saying it was higher?
That's what,
60,000 gallon day in the old agreement, and now it's down to 30.
So in the
I
original
definitely-
agreement, it was 60? In the original agreement, it was
that's
60?
what, that's
I
what,
don't see any problem with that at all.
no, but you're saying in she's asking if the original agreement, it said 60,000.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't make sense for, in a new agreement where we've grown, for us to have a
Yeah.
less.
Yeah.
That, and I mean, to that point, you know, in the permit, there's the contingency that talks about the effluent concentrations. And it says, during the first 3 months of operation and sampling, if it is apparent that the actual effluent concentrations are outside of the requirements of this permit, then the two parties will meet to modify. And which is great, but also maybe it should have a contingency where we kind of talk about it on a yearly basis. And maybe it gets looked at every year to make sure that it's not getting out of hand.
So we're looking to direct our attorney to add to the agreement that we reinstate the 60,000.
In the discharge permit.
We look at having a statement that says that when there is when the consultant is evaluating the proportionate share, that, future growth is considered as part of that proportional share.
Yeah. And then did the BODs get, lowered as well? Or the,
No,
that,
these are charged by pound.
but there's a 450 limit, 30-day average on this chart. Discharge monitoring,
450 or 430, yeah.
450.
450.
Did that get changed as well from the previous, you
I
know?
don't recall it being in there, other than there was a charge per pound, but I might be wrong. And the other thing I quite honestly find offensive is the violation.
The $5,000 a day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty,
So, town
it's got a lot.
Town discharges at the outfall metering location must comply with the permit and the rules and regulations of this permit. Any violation of the discharge permit, the district rules and regulations, or any orders made pursuant to the discharge permit or modifications to this permit shall be subject to a $5,000 fine per violation, per permit violation per day for such violation. Each day on which the violation occurs or continues shall be deemed a separate and distinct violation. In this case, violations of monthly or other long-term average discharge limitations. Penalties may be assessed for each day in the period covered by the violation. This definitely, in addition to the penalties provided herein, the district may recover responsible attorney's fees, court costs, court fees, and other expenses of litigation by appropriate suit and law here under such penalties shall be in addition to any actual damages the district may incur because of such violations where a violation is found to have caused interference or upset. The maximum penalty of $5,000 per violation as described above may be increased as necessary to allow the district to recover from the town any fines.
That could be good.
Yeah.
No, that's it.
Right.
With the increase or the addition of the surcharge, we're also taking on some responsibility of bookkeeping for them, collecting that money. And, an affirmative issue. And that should be part of what Warren is saying, we don't have a policy or procedure on how to do that right from the beginning. But still,
I talked to the attorney about that and he said that, you know, as soon as this gets put in place, we'll create like a, you know, ordinance or whatever it is, but fee schedule will change.
who's gonna write that ordinance?
He's gonna have to write it.
You know, it's still, we still haven't gotten
But you're absolutely right about this violation thing. I don't know. I mean, it's strict and it's really not, I mean, they could,
I don't know who that would be really structured for, I don't know. Not neighbor to neighbor, that's done, I'm sure.
they're trying to kind of squeeze us. What I'm feeling. They're, I mean, even with that moving down to 30, 30,000 gallons a day, that feels like it's some kind of like a little bit of a squeeze on us to try to, I mean, I know that their ideal is that we join the district and
Yeah, I mean, they might be also thinking about it in terms of growth, you know, just like we're saying, like. They might just be recognizing that like they're gonna grow a lot faster and they look at us and they're like, well, they don't need that much. And we're gonna need a lot more. Which I'm not saying, that's not great for us, but I could see how
That's
that,
kind of the thinking,
I could see how they would be.
that was right from the beginning,
Yeah.
because I had mentioned it to our attorney on the 60,000 gallon day, and I'm not sure, he was sure what I was talking about, but I said, we're nowhere near that allocation. Why should we have, and I called it an allocation, why should we have to pay for any expansion of the plant until we reach that 60,000 gallons? I can see increase because of costs go up, operational costs go up. But, as far as our allocation, as it stands today, it's more than that.
Well, I know they're looking at, feeling like they're running at about 80% of their capacity.
now
60,
60.
At 60?
60.
And I think, I don't know if they're planning on like doing a facility like within the next couple of years, or if this agreement is to plan for maybe 8 years down the road they're looking for.
That's kind of what has said at one time, that it was not an immediate, the 60%, not the 80 that everyone thought. So the expansion was going to come further on down the road. But from what I understand, there's about, and rumors fly around here like crazy, there's like 100 permits that have been issued and haven't been started yet.
In the Baca?
Yeah.
That are part of the water and sand district?
I don't know where they are in the district, but those are buildings that,
Yeah,
Probably some that are on the grants and then some that are.
probably a lot out in the grants too. Yeah.
So what do we say, how do we have, our attorney, how do we direct our attorney to look at the violation thing, change it,
I
or?
would just tell them that that's what we want. The violation deal is too severe. And if you all agree on the amount of gallons,
So one thing that I'm kind of getting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the AIWWTP, which is, my opinion, I think it's the oversight of their system. So they're saying, if violations do not cause compliance violations at the AIWWTP, town shall be given 3 months to perform corrective procedures or seek modification of this permit. My guess is that they get fined by them if they see something in the system, and if it comes from us, then it's basically this, they're just passing on the fine to us, what I'm getting, but I'm not 100% if that's true. I
so
kind of,
clarification of that is what you're saying.
yeah, I mean, we should really look at that, is that something that, is that what is happening, or is it that they get to decide whether they wanna find us based on something that they see, you know. I think there's an oversight,
I understand what you're saying,
Um,
right,
Yeah, they might not be able to lower that
third
fine,
party.
yeah.
Well, and I do want it to be said as part of this meeting that as the town is growing, we want to contribute our fair share to the expansion of that plant. It serves us, it's fair.
Sure.
If they, you know, if we're using more, we should pay for the expansion of the plant. We're also looking at if we ever do any development on track one, that could create a lot more usage of the sewer system. If track one has ever developed in a lot of different activities or things, community center, or who knows, recreation center, or anything. The town could be looking at a lot more usage of the sewer system. And so, you know, I think for us to pay our fair share of the sewer expansion plant is just, you know, good business. It makes sense. And, you know, and I want it to be said too that the town, of course, it's gonna pay its fair share.
And there's also an environmental impact of that could be negative if you have a bad system. And we wanna make sure that
Mhm.
for the health and safety of the community as well.
I mean, I think when it comes up, we're gonna have to balance, and whoever's the board at the time is gonna have to balance whether, you know, it's cheaper to create our own system, cause I mean, there was a guy who came in here back a few years ago, he was, you know, saying he's setting up these small systems for towns that are, you know, and they were a lagoon style system, which was kind of interesting because I thought they eliminated lagoon systems, but he said this one's being permitted for small towns. It doesn't cost, you know, it's way cheaper to build than these high grade, high level systems. And it's also doing, you know, amazing job. Now, this guy, I haven't seen him, heard from him or anything since then, so I have no idea on his progress, but I mean, it's gonna, if we have to chip in $5 million to a system, you know, who knows how much we're gonna, you know, we're gonna have to really decide whether.
Treatment facilities of any type are expensive to run.
And I know that the grantors at the state, they want to see us hook up to the park and have it just be one facility, and they would help the town have money to be able to make that possible. And they have to deal, the BACA has to deal with all that regulatory and discharge and all of this sort of stuff as well.
Do you wanna have Seth still look at the violation thing and we'll look, see if he can lighten that up a little bit for.
I think it needs to be like, I mean, I think it's far too severe.
Will you put that down too? So we have the growth, long-term growth part. You wanna repeat back with?
What I have here,
Yeah,
I have directed him to look at increasing. 30,000 or 600,000 or whatever it is.
that was one thing.
Another one was to
Listen to our Archie has.
review the proportionate share considering, that, or make sure the attorney considers that future growth will be acknowledged, especially in terms of building the water treatment plant.
Future growth after the plan, so it's like, it's like, you know, they can take an assessment of what we're doing at the time, but if we contributed, say, a third, and then they grow way faster than we grow, then that third gets less over time. And so that's what to consider, and I don't know how to say that
And
exactly.
I guess it's specifically for section 4 on page 3 with the wastewater treatment plant upgrades, right? Like that's because there is kind of that in the increase in cost of service. They talk about how we shouldn't get, you know, an increased cost of service when infrastructure grows in the BACA. So it's like something added to the plant upgrades.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then the last one was, clarification of the fines and the fees, specifically the $5,000 per penalty per day fee.
And I think when we see, if it should be 5 years or 6 years before they do that 1 year average of what we're doing to tell our proportionate share, we might already see that growth happening in the BACA by then. We might already see those figures start to shift. So we're also gonna have our own growth in town, like with Living Wisdom or other facilities coming up.
Let me ask a question, I'm not that familiar with their land use, but do they have a commercial district?
No. No, there's no commercial.
Now, there is some out there that's connected to the county that's not part of the POA, that's under some commercial.
Elk Park,
What is it?
Elk Park. It's out
Yeah,
there.
so there's that, but then even on the Baca, like, for instance, there's a piece of land that is not part of the POA. It's a 40-acre tract that borders the, sand dunes. Manitou owns, that's under commercial, whatever that means. Maybe they did that for, if there was gonna be a retreat center or
But
something, so they
they're not
got,
hooked up into Baca water.
but they're not, but they theoretically, so a lot of those centers are hooked up to Baca water, even though they're not part of the Baca POA, so they do have that kind of growth. They pay a different fee, kind of like what we have here. If somebody wants to hook up to our system outside of the Baca, outside of the town, they're supposed to be getting a double. I don't know if that's happening.
And my thoughts are that like we should definitely, you know, we should send all of these things to Seth. We should see what comes back and like at a certain point, we too are gonna have to we might have to make some compromises on, so that we can have an agreement and get our wastewater treatment. And the $5,000 thing, you know, I'm curious, is it coming from, is it being passed down? Or like, is that what they would get charged from an agency? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or is that what they're charging us? Basically, because they decided that's what they're charging.
I think that's exactly it.
You think it's
I
their,
don't see anything else in there that tells me different.
yeah.
It's just the number they came up with.
And if that's the case, then like, yeah, that's pretty steep.
Yeah, I mean, there's a reason to collect a fine, and usually it comes down to some type of punishment.
Yeah.
To force you into being more compliant with this stuff here, but, you know, with the BODs and the TSSs or whatever, all this other stuff is volatiles, I call them. But,
I think the point of going back to the original 60,000 gallons is, a real key important part. I mean, it was part of their older agreement, it should be part of this one. I
it
think
was
that's
important enough to have it in the first agreement.
I think that's an important.
Okay, so we got, I would say that's gonna go on the lawyer's report for the next meeting. Ariel will send it out to him. Maybe Ariel and I will have a talk with Seth about these points, if he has any other questions. If anybody has the inclination to want to write an email to Seth explaining your points, it really does help, because then he gets more of a perspective, because that was a big deal. I would really like it if people would dialogue with him.
I've written them emails and never gotten a response from them.
Okay.
So are you done with the meeting today?
No, no. Good.
I got a couple of quick
My
ones.
coat on, Benjamin.
I know, and I know that everybody wants to leave.
No, I got a couple of quickies.
Yeah, let me just follow our, quick. So we're gonna have to decide in December about this agreement, so let's, try to get as much as we can done. We're way closer with this agreement than we are with the budget, that's for sure.
I just, yeah. No, never mind.
All right,
I believe you're at mayor's report.
mayor's report, I mean, I've kind of reported everything that I had. I would love to get this, finance stuff worked out. I really would love to, to direct Ariel to really work with Andrea on all the controls we need, financial controls we need for 2025, and really have that. I mean, I think this printer, this scanner is gonna help, because it will, you click on it and it will bring up the receipts. So I wanna make sure that we are ready for 25, whether we have a budget or not, because it's gonna be even more important if we don't have a budget.
I agree with you.
So,
The reason why it's this way is because it lost control.
exactly, and so the controls, and that was Andrew's biggest thing, she said, I have good news for you, coming into 25, you're gonna be, ready, so let's make sure that we spend next month doing that. I'm still feeling like, we really can't do much extra on anything in our town, besides take care of the grants that are, still, we're trying to close out this one grant, we're trying to, we're gonna wait till the spring, I think, what's happening with the other grant,
Well, what I have here, I just received this morning, I got an email from Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment in their grant cycle. This is for the water, the electrical system, starts today.
okay,
Deadline for any application, and I think I sent you a copy of it. Is, the 23rd of December. The, Water Quality Control Assistance Unit is now accepting these applications for 25. Grants provide financial assistance for systems that need help reaching or exceeding compliance requirements or addressing water quality challenges. The total fund, total funding for the entire state is $150,000. It's not a whole lot of money. And, individual grants are up to 25,000.
and this was the grant you were thinking of the whole time? Okay.
And, so this would require the board to approve the mayor to go ahead and at least apply. Doesn't mean we have to do anything.
So then, this is the one extra thing that we're gonna be doing besides clearing up the other grants. This is our one extra, because we do really need to have these, controls in place.
Well, and if we want to save it for the next board meeting and have more discussion in time for everyone else to give their own thoughts to it, that's fine.
Deadline is the 23rd of December.
Right, for the application to be submitted. We can, if we had, to, we can do it multi-year. The other, so anyway, that's between us here.
I would say we should, apply for it.
Do you have a copy?
I do, I'm seeing it.
If the application date is the 23rd, then
What's that?
You lost the quorum,
Yeah. Is she leaving?
I think
Coming
that
back.
shows it up.
it's coming back, I get it, but you can't do anything.
No. But anywho,
I think it makes sense to apply.
that's my opinion too.
I would I'm just joking.
I'll wait till, I got some good news.
Good news, well, let's wait for Susan to come back so she can hear.
Everything's good news, it's all good news.
Yeah.
And, talk with Brent, are you still there? I see your name on the board. We're gonna try to have some numbers for you on the, coming up here pretty quick in the next board meeting or so. On the flow meter, what it's doing, it's operational. And we've got today, this morning, I got 2 invoices from the contractor, PLECC, Timberline Electric. And so I gave them the aerial and she can pass them on to Randy and we can close this out.
So a couple of those, why?
I think you don't have a clue as to
All
what
the expenses.
numbers, there are approximately 10,000 or more in invoices for things that
On 23.
in 23, that I think probably apply to that grant.
From that far back, 23, for the flow meter? I think the flow meter only started in 24.
I don't believe that's the case.
No, I don't think it's the case either. I remember, I think a few of those items that she's looking for on that sheet that, Andrea sent us is for the flow meter. I think he's right about that.
I think
But we could, can we try to find those receipts?
Is that the,
Yeah,
when,
wind tech?
Yeah, you'll win, and there's $10,605.04. Now, they may not all be applied to that grant, but they're for, $2,700, $2,900, $1,800, $1,900, $490, $772. And I don't see how those things would have, numbers that large would have been going on with the water system.
I thought that was maybe with the, yeah, I think I put in my memo, or email, the, jetting and scoping and repair work to the system.
No, I don't believe that's the case, but maybe I'm wrong.
This
Cause that
was-
was 56,000, and those numbers aren't. My point is, no one knows. So how can you make a decision to close out a grant that no one knows whether these, I mean, it's 10 grand. If you're responsible for half of it, it means you're losing 5 grand by not including it.
I guess I thought that with the exception of these last two invoices, all of the other stuff had been sent to Randy. And she had the package and was waiting for this last bit.
That's what I was.
I mean, Andrew,
I know what's being said, but I'm saying no one knows. If you know what the invoice is for, fine. If you don't know what the invoice is for,
so let's see, I'm finding that. So there was, yeah, what, I mean, like even Chris Archuleta, what was that? That was, I mean, who knows who Chris Archuleta was? That was,
$1,900 with it.
Somebody, buddy,
Rounds Hill Engineering and Controls. Chris Archuleta got $100. What is this, and then. Where is it? I looked it up. I know Sweetwater Sound, I know what that was for. But instruments, the instrument direct,
I have an Instrumart.
Instrumart from 23.
For $4,265.
$4,265, that's on here. What does it say it's for? Does it?
Great velocity flow meter. Great line instruments.
That's it. See, so this is the,
This is what she was asking.
yeah, she was asking for that, then there's
The
one,
only invoice I have for.
I seem to remember Miguel saying that it was,
what about,
that meter was gonna be around $5,000.
what about Front Range Wind Water Works?
There's a bunch of invoices for them.
I mean, I looked them up, and they're definitely just like a water,
Oh, it's wind supply.
huh?
With it.
What is that?
Front range, what?
Their
Wind, Front Range Wind Water Works.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, they're-
it's for the spring.
Supply.
Their plumbing store.
And what about,
That's a lot of money, huh?
what about Craig Tomaski? You have invoices for him? He's the one that did the original.
The electric.
Stuff,
You're right, I remember that.
and that was a couple of grand right at the top of my head.
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
At least not in these files. So,
Good thing we applied for an extension.
I mean, it
can
sounds
you help me
like,
make a list of, or can we make a list of the ones we're missing so I can look for them because.
Okay, so let's start it right now, because I know Craig, I know that one. Craig Tomaski,
The one for-
whenever that was, 20,
Was the, somebody that dug the hole, right?
No, what we were waiting for was this last,
install, it was a piece that was,
yeah, there was some stuff missing and then the calibration. This is a nice invoice, it's all listed there.
Okay, and then you have REC, the SLV REC for setting the pole. There's those costs in there?
I don't have any of those.
Yeah,
This is all I got.
this was.
I just don't know how all that's worked and no one put records on it.
You didn't have, I mean,
I mean, this file, there's this, and actually this wasn't in the file, I had it.
You said you found the file?
I have these two files, if you wanna look through them, but if you have any invoices, I have to find this from our.
It's okay, Ariel, unless the invoices are in there, I don't know.
so let's look for the wind water works one, if we can. Let's look for anything from SLB, REC that, any extra, like, and that might be hard to find, but
When the application,
Craig to
did
match.
you see anything on the application? Is the application in the file?
Yeah. But it's in here.
I mean, aren't we supposed to get reimbursed for like Miguel's work and Brent's work? I mean,
Well, I
That's
received
the-
this from Miguel, this is, the DOTC. For $3,795.25. And then also liquid AI data management software subscription for 3 months for $270.
Somewhere along the line, I heard the number 35 or $36,000.
The total grant. The 39,000, it's in that range for the whole thing.
Yes.
You probably get put it there too, whatever.
Probably have it.
I mean, maybe just we'll go through these with Randy when we find as many as we can, and then we gotta. I mean, if we miss one, it's our loss, right? And that how it's gonna work?
Yeah.
That's the SLV here. Oh, this is a requested service.
Okay, so you have the dates and stuff, maybe to find out.
And nobody knows who Chris Archuleta is.
Am I looking for something from Chris
I-
Levis here?
I have no idea who this person is.
And I looked
Yeah,
at,
well, he's on that sheet, it's the. This sheet.
Well,
I didn't find anything when I Googled it.
When you Googled them,
Sorry, kid, I'm
it's a bunch of Chris Archuleta.
yeah, and I guess a couple of them have died.
Is in the kind of back up. We're
There's lots
asking
of
the mayor to
obituaries.
go ahead and, help grant application for the
Water.
water.
Water what? So up at the water department, there's some controls that need to be updated and replaced, and it's a $25,000 maximum. Which is gonna be about $50,000 worth of stuff, right?
I think that estimate that we got was about 20,000 strong.
So you're saying that
When-
this grant could cover that?
And I think need to involve Brent, when you're doing this
Can you fill it
application
out?
and myself. Well, look through there and see, if you click on it, it'll lay it all out for you, but I don't think this one person should do it. I think you need to
Do you want a
collaborate.
motion to,
But make a motion that we instruct the mayor to go ahead and fill out the,
2025 assistant grant application?
for the electrical components for the pump house.
I second the motion.
Any more discussion on it?
can you repeat the motion?
A motion to direct the mayor to
Fill out the application.
fill out the application for 2025 assistance grant application for the, control panel on the
Pump house.
pump house.
Okay,
And, who is it second, right?
Dana,
I'm listening to you guys.
and,
So, I heard something about Chris Archuleta.
yeah,
He's a well guy. I don't know what you, are you guys looking at? I can barely hear most of it, so.
Low meter grant and all the
What?
invoices that should be associated.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think that he's associated with
Okay.
this flow meter.
okay,
He's a well guy. He does our, calibration of our well meters. So,
Okay.
if you got it, I can look at it and see, but I don't think you've got any work.
So, no, we paid them.
Sewer.
In 2023, we paid them $1,900.
Uh-huh.
We don't know what it's for, or what it was for. We're trying to get clarity on all these expenses that weren't tracked properly.
Can I look at the
Yes.
evidence, maybe I can get some clarity, maybe I can clarify?
We don't have it.
Oh, they weren't.
We don't have anything, that's why we requested it.
I'm sorry.
We don't have an invoice.
All we have is accounting. You're getting it.
There's stuff for me to look
Right.
at.
Wake up.
If they were like sitting around.
Yeah, I was only getting pieces of it, so I was just like, whoa.
Yeah, you got about what we
You
got.
guys are way off base, yeah, I mean, that's what he does, so he might have done something, I don't know, but it's probably well related.
So
We're
let's
just trying, what we're trying to do, Brian, is get all the invoices together, so, cause we got these last two from, to
Right.
be able to close that.
And I didn't see anything from SLDREC either, I looked,
So there should be,
but they did set a poll, you're
I
right,
set a poll, and then
yeah.
Craig did electrical work.
And I got a bill for the remainder of that, which was only $200. And I think he had already been paid for some of that.
Wait, you got a bill for what?
You got it, you got
Send
the
it to
bill,
me.
yes, like $247, that was the final,
So what was the original though?
I
Because
never saw it.
The original was like 21, or it was over $2,000.
And like I said, I picked this up on the very end of it, so I didn't see all this other stuff.
So didn't we?
so let me tell you what's happening, just so you have more clarity.
Sure.
There's two things happening. One, we got a thing from 2023 from Andrea. They had Andrea's our accountant.
Okay,
There it is, right there.
okay,
And so there's a mix of a few things in there. We don't know what those are for.
yeah,
Number one.
and then with water stuff, I think, that had to do with sewer repairs,
So he was right,
yeah.
but it doesn't have to do,
I think, cause we actually got a check back, I just got a check for $700 back from, another company regarding these repairs. But this could have been, wind water, the Miguel started using wind water. So he bought some meters and he bought some equipment from them, some meter pits, things like that. And then,
but for, what doesn't have to do with this meter grant at all?
No, just.
no, I don't think so, no,
Right.
no.
Can you look at this? It's like, go with that.
But we have a motion on the floor
For the grant.
for the grant.
So let's move on with that.
So let's
All
finish.
in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, this is the one I found.
And this is.
Also directed
Yes.
everybody to keep every receipt ever with notes.
And that's
With the-
that's basically the cost of the meter right there, that's where we purchased the meter, the flow meter.
The receipt makes
This
it.
cost and everything.
Oh, So you guys were just wanting to know if any of these maybe pertain to the grant, that's what you were asking about, okay.
And knowing Chris Archuleta is
Going
great.
to Archuleta is a great fund.
This Instruments Direct, very well. That's where we got the, flow meter from, so yes. Yeah, there's two, there's one, two, there's two of those, and that should be included, should have got those. Yeah, and then, this, not sure what this retro is, I can look at some of this, I can dig through this.
Do you know what Chris Archuleta's, does he have a company? or
Yeah.
something? What, could we reach out to him and be like, hey, like, do you remember?
Yeah, he's gonna, yeah.
Yeah, but
He's a what do you want? If you guys give me an invoice, I'll call him up and see what's going
No,
on.
they can't give you the invoice.
That's the problem.
I can give you a number.
We need the
We
invoice.
can go into the treasury now and find
Uh,
the invoices maybe.
Well, I can call him and ask him, but it's more than likely has to do with well.
Okay.
Right.
So here's what the issue is, in 2023 and 2024, we've had a series of expenses that aren't being accounted for properly. And we're trying to find places to put them so that we can get to the next level, which is to have all of the actuals lined out so that we can do the 25 budget. This this is actually for the audit, it's not even for, but we have to have 23 done, you have to have 22 done, and we have to have 24 done. All the way through so that we can actually do the budget for 25. So we don't know what this stuff is for, and so going into 25, we want much better counting controls on everything. We need to know exactly where things are coming from and where they're going.
Well, I'll just have to say, I have something to say about that.
Yeah.
I was coding about 30 minutes ago. The coding system that I received, from the treasurer a few months ago is not very adequate.
No.
It needs to be nailed down a little tighter.
Yeah.
I'm not enjoying it. It's not going, my codes are not lining up with what I've got. So I'll just tell you that we need to rework that for sure.
I feel like Andrea said the same,
Yeah.
and so did Sarah.
It was good, and
So
again,
then the-
before we had was better than what we've got, and if we just went back to what we had before, I think that would be
We
better.
don't consider that we have anything right now,
Okay,
just
But
so
I'm-
that,
but I'm
that
just-
slate is gonna get wiped clean.
okay, I'm just gonna say, that the coding system needs to work, it just needs to be nailed down some more tighter, because I'm
I don't know if you can
I'm not
take-
able to code accurately.
Right, it's hard,
Yeah.
the admin stuff too.
Brent, Mayor, it's okay if you guys.
Work on that, yeah,
Collaborate on that, and let's get the thing closed
Yeah.
up as quick as possible.
okay.
Those are
Next.
the grant,
The last thing we're gonna be talking about is the strategic planning tool that we received from Randy after our retreat. Please take a look at it and, we,
can you send that to me?
did you have, sorry, we didn't do the clerk's report. Did you want to report or you, you're okay with now?
Yeah.
Are you going away again? So you're gonna be gone
I'm leaving Wednesday, and I'll be back Sunday,
Sunday?
so really, Wednesday is the only day I'll be gone.
Okay. So,
Just one question, did you want me to reach out to Chris and ask him about?
I think it sounds like we don't need to.
Okay, all right, I mean, I totally can, but I think it's about, he has a calibration company.
Brent, let's see if we can find it first, and if we can't find it, then we reach out to.
Okay, all right.
You need an invoice.
Sure. Okay, yeah, let's do what Ariel
So
said.
let's see if we
And
can
then you
find
just
it,
follow
and then
up.
if we can't find it, then we'll reach out, cause we're gonna have to reach out to probably SLB, REC, if we can't find that one, you know.
Yeah, that's probably.
But let's
quite
just see what we
expensive, yeah.
can dig up first, maybe.
Okay, all right, all right, thank you. Yep. Thanks, Brent.
okay, so this, we have our priorities. I heard a comment from Dennis saying that this was, still not necessarily up to kind of a. What was your comment?
I don't remember.
Or you were saying something like this is like, 1990s style.
Oh, yeah, in my personal opinion, I just, actually, it seemed outdated to me too, because we have already started on a lot of these things, and it's just coming up now as supposedly a planning tool for us, and we've already initiated some of this stuff. And, yeah, it's just my own personal feeling or opinion that, this technique isn't sitting very well with me, I guess. There's my input.
Well, I mean, I would say this is something that we can use and just keep kind of reviewing and going over, and yes, I think you're right about that, but. The nice thing is we can actually check this stuff off the list as we go. I mean, like for instance, the cemetery improvements, like we have done some of it. But now the next steps really are for Ariel and I to sit down with Matt and go through the cemetery stuff, or maybe even the Public Works Committee members go and sit down with Matt, our engineer, and actually go through the sizing and everything that we, are thinking of.
I think you can keep it, if you wanna include the public works committee, that's fine.
Well, the only reason was because we had brought up the cemetery stuff,
Yeah, that's how it started.
But either way, I mean, is there anything that you guys feel like, I mean, do you feel like this thing has,
So I had a question about, what's this assess feasibility of improving visitation and visitor services. What's that about?
Well, that's Adam,
That's Adam.
Adam's want to, yeah,
Make this a visitor center, this area.
the hat shop,
Oh, okay.
which, you know.
I thought that's what was happening with the museum. Jim McAlpin's doing.
That is a visitor center.
I mean, he's kind of has like visitor center and all that sort of stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't
Well,
know.
we were thinking
I
about.
think Adam wants to like sell like
a gift
Crestone
shop,
tchotchkes. It is,
local artisans.
Somebody else does the work and not me, I don't know them
that's a
probably.
great, that's a much better way to say it than Crestone tchotchkes.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's a Yiddish term.
I was just curious, I missed that I kind of missed that conversation, so. Okay, but no, other things, I think, you know, as far as the priorities go, like we say, some things kind of move across those categories.
I just think, you know, if we're gonna kind of stick with the goal that we're not really, doing too, like, we really need to take a breath of, you know, a breath before we move on to, you know, especially these long-term goals and stuff like that, so it'd be really nice to just kind of use this, keep coming back to this is what we're trying to do, and this is what we're gonna,
Yeah.
continue to look at, but that's all we're gonna do for now, that's all we have to do, we don't have to,
I think you're right, just keeping it out there, knowing it's there,
yeah, I mean, it's.
compared to our master plan.
Yeah, I think
Virgil,
I have another meeting I have to be at,
Five,
so I'm gonna be leaving.
I'm gonna, say that we've done a lot today,
Yeah.
let's move on and deal with anything left on the agenda for next meeting.
May the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great study, Denise. Sorry. I don't know what to say. We're in a chaotic night.
I mean,
Danielle, did you have check for me by chance?
I know, but I would work on.
They don't have one ready. Okay. Just thought I'd check when I was here. But that's it.
Yeah. Thank you, Ariel.
Had to cancel my trip to go see all my family up in Granby and all my kids and grandkids because they're gonna have like a foot of snow and we have to drive over mountain passes on everything.
Where's that kid flying out when it's like snowing? It's like.
I guess you gotta get more chaotic before it gets better.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
I mean, I know what's there.
Are you going to the